Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees. Well, it looks like we made it. Season 7, the Mickey Mantle year for Section 420, Talkin Yankees. Again, thank you for joining us for all these years, and hopefully finally this season the Yankees get it. Now, if you look at 7, when you're shooting craps, if you roll 7 on the first go ahead, you win. So, hopefully this will be the final season the Yankees get that championship, that first championship since 2009. And also this season, we're going to switch it up a little bit. We will be introducing an actual audio podcast. So I know you love looking at me, but it could be times where you're taking the subway or the Metro North, or you're at the gym, or you're just hanging out at a bar or lounge, and you just want to listen to Section 420 Talkin Yankees. We'll provide that for you, and there'll also be exclusive content that will be only available through that podcast, not on TV, not on YouTube. So you'll have to subscribe to that podcast and get more information will come in as that comes available. And of course, we'll go through some Yankee news and notes. And if you may recall last season, before the start of the season, the build up to the season, we had some guests, some other podcasters and similar content creators from other teams, such as from the Boston Red Sox and Toronto Blue Jay fans and the Baltimore Orioles fans and so forth. They kind of give us a little scouting on each of the teams. Well, we didn't really have those people back this season, just the way the schedule rolled out. So what I'll do is I'll give you a little scouting on the Yankees' AL East rivals, just so you know what's going out there. Again, it's going to be a pretty tough division. A little hint there. We all know that the Orioles are a punching bag. They will continue to be. But again, the Rays are going to be tough. Red Sox are going to be tough. And the Blue Jays, a lot of people saying that this is going to be really the Blue Jays division this season. But we'll get into all that just in case, you didn't pay attention this offseason, what additions these teams made, what subtractions they made. And I'll give my personal thoughts of how the Yankee roster stacks up with each of those teams. But before that, we'll get into a little news and notes. Now, in the previous episode with the previous two guests, I mentioned to both of them that the Yankees were a little thin at the catching position. Again, they traded Gary Sanchez, who had no fits with, but at least he did provide some power. And then if you look just beyond Higgy, who didn't have a great season last season, but had a good spring training, you still felt that the Yankees still needed to make a move at catcher, and they did that, bringing in Jose Trevino from the Texas Rangers. Now, they had to part ways with Albert Abreu, who, he showed a lot of promise for the Yankees last season out of the bullpen, and I was kind of surprised they made that move, but I guess, to get something, you have to give something. So they bring in Trevino, 29 years old, kind of your typical backup catcher, kind of known as a good framer, so maybe help with the pitching staff. Not going to really get too much in terms of offense production, but again, this creates a little more, competition there. And again, going into the season, you're going to be looking at Rob Brantley there behind the plate, just the backup Higgy. So there really isn't much there. It wasn't too much, sexiness to it, as you would say. So not surprising they have the move for Jose. And of course, you had hip hip Jorge. Now it's going to be hip hip Jose. Not as good, but a close second. And another move Cashman made, which we didn't have time to really discuss in some of the previous episode, was picking up Marwin Gonzalez. Now, he played with Boston last season, didn't really have a good year, and overall his career has been declined. Now, he came on the scene with the Houston Astros in the 2017 season, came out, 23 home runs, 93 RBIs, showed a lot of promise, but then again, since that time, his career has been in decline. But where he's really valuable is that he's a super utility player. He can literally play any position other than the catcher, and maybe if you give him a catcher glove, he could try it. But yeah, definitely all the infield positions and all the outfield positions. And again, even if doesn't give you much with the bat, he is a great insurance policy, again, because he could just fill in any position just in case, a couple of players go down with some hamstring injuries, or if there's an issue with Hicks in center field, which can always happen. It's good to have someone like Gonzalez on the roster. And speaking of Cashman himself, before the start of the actual regular season, he got a little testy. One of the reporters, they always bring up that he hasn't had a championship since the 2009 season. And of course, he referenced that, we should have won in 2017 if it wasn't for the Astros cheating, which is kind of interesting. He's bringing Gonzalez, who's doing that, and you have Carlos Beltran, who's part of that, up in the yes booth. But nevertheless, kind of interesting to see Cashman get a little testy like that, and could be maybe buckling under the pressure a little bit, because again, technically on paper, this is his final season of his contract. I would expect the Yankees to maintain his services. This seems he's been here a long time, and I just don't see them parting ways. But again, perhaps again, he's just getting a little testy, feeling the pressure here, and if the Yankees again fall short of either making the playoffs or just getting wiped out in the divisional round, maybe Cashman does finally get to see the exit. And the Yankees might have done a little cheating of their own. So supposedly, I guess the Yankees have been accused of perhaps using the bullpen phone to relay messages, or using the replay video stream to their advantage. And there was an investigation for the Yankees about this, and this was supposedly sealed in some report, and now supposedly this report's going to be unsealed, but now the Yankees are taking it to court and try to keep this report sealed because they figure, well, if it gets out, it's going to be misinterpreted. It's not exactly the full story, and the Yankees are trying to cover it up. So again, maybe a little shadiness on the part of the Yankees, and of course we all know what the Red Sox had their issue with the smartwatches on the bases. We all know about the Houston Astros, and of course there's always the rumors about Toronto and the Rogers Center, that hotel in center field, someone with some binoculars, watching the catcher's pitching sequence, throwing down signals, and then kind of relay that to the batters somehow. So again, it seems like this stuff is all around baseball, and again for Cashman to be yelling at the Houston Astros when possibly the Yankees might have been messing with some of the stuff too. He's kind of hypocritical. Now, the Yankees starting rotation potentially could be very good, but there's still some question marks there. Now, we all know Cole's cold, as worry about him. But of course, behind him, Luis Severino, who hasn't been a full-time starter in almost 2+ seasons. He's got to pitch a full season. And Jameson Taillon, again, who was pretty good with the Yankees last season. But of course, end of the year with ankle surgery, kind of rehabbing, had a good spring, and showing a lot of promise there. Severino, a little soreness setback, but overall, should be okay for at least the start of the season. But someone who's going to be important is Michael King, who's not going to really be part of the starting rotation, but is going to be very instrumental for the Yankees. And again, it's the way they used him last season. They would spot start him once in a while. He could come out of the bullpen, do a little long relief, or if the starter gets wiped out in the second inning, he could come in and carry about 4 or 5 innings. And he's credited Corey Kluber, his teammate from last season, who's now with the Rays, which we'll get into, for helping share some knowledge on what they call the Kluber ball, which is basically, say, half slider, half curved, again, that Corey Kluber's kind of perfected, and now Michael King picked up on it, and he said it's basically his 6th slider grip since college, and so far he says it's the one he feels most comfortable with. So hopefully we get the best version of Michael King ever. And again, another arm that the Yankees are going to expecting down the road is going to be Domingo Germán. Again, they had to put him on the 60-day IL for shoulder soreness. He's probably not going to be ready till at least late May, early June, if that. And again, Kings is going to be a value because as you go along, just because you have Severino and Taillon coming back, trying to build the strength, you're going to need scheduled off days. There's probably going to be certain parts of the early season where Boone's going to have to go to a 6-man rotation. And again, King is going to be very valuable in that role. And the Yankee roster, at least the roster that officially broke camp, the oldest player on the roster will be Josh Donaldson at age 36. So you look overall, Cashman has done a good job of just installing a lot of youth on this team. I guess some of the past Yankee teams, I'm going back 5 to 10 years, had a lot of problem with a lot of players in the middle to late 30s and were sometimes averaging it as one of the oldest teams in the league. Kind of Cashman over the past couple of seasons has now reversed that trend, and of course, Donaldson at 36, again, it's not that he's an overhill guy, but it's just good to have a younger roster, usually at the end of the day, that leads to more of a winning team. And Yankee fans will be happy to know that Derek Jeter is coming back to the team, but not the way you think. The Yankees are going to honor him on September 9th in a game for his Hall of Fame celebration, which the Yankees never really had, because what happened is basically, they retired his number 2 back in May of 2017, and then a couple of months after that, in August, he became a part of this ownership group where they bought out and had ownership of the Florida Marlins, Miami Marlins, whatever they'll call it at the time. They change their name every year. And then, of course, now Jeter's been the CEO of that team for 5 years, then recently stepped down. And I guess now, since he's not really tied to the Marlins anymore, I guess they feel it's more appropriate then to have him in and give him his due, give him all this pomp and circumstance and the celebration of being a Hall of Famer. Again, originally he was voted in 2020, but as we know with COVID, they couldn't have the Hall of Fame ceremony, so they got kicked to another year to 2021. But again, at that time, even though he retired a Yankee and he was up there and Torrey and all of them were in the crowd, he still technically was, the CEO of the Marlins. So again, I guess it was this kind of awkward turtle to bring him to Yankee Stadium and give him his little parade there. So, now that he's not with the Marlins anymore, I guess now is the appropriate time. So he will be back on September 9th, and I think for the first 40,000 fans in attendance, which I'm pretty sure will be sold out, you get a little replica, Derek Jeter Cooperstown plaque. Jeter's going to throw out the first pitch, and I'm sure there'll be some other surprises, and I'm sure Mariano will be there, and Jorge will be there, Torrey will be there, the whole group will be there, so, you get some pictures of them all on the field and all that's great stuff. And a lot of baseball fans like to dump on Commissioner Rob Manfred, and I'm probably with them on that. I don't like a lot of these rule changes. He kind of just pulls out of left field just because, knee-jerk reaction. However, I like the decision that they made that now they're going to mic up the umpires just to kind of give us their edict on the replays. Similar to what they do in the NFL, the the referee gets out there and explains the whole play, what the penalty was, what they decided, all that stuff. And they can do that now for the Major League Baseball, the umpires. And I actually like the decision very much. I think it feels it connects the umpires with the fans more. Again, usually they just look at the replay, you see them all there with the headsets, and then they just go out or safe, and then we don't get an explanation, and it's up to broadcasters to kind of figure out what the edict was. So now the umpires themselves are going to talk to the crowd. So again, I like it. Just explain, all right, what's being challenged, why we made the decision, what actually happened. And again, I just think it's just good for the fans, and it's good for the umpires as well. Kind of humanizes them a little bit. I just think of all the sports, it just feels like that the Major League umpires, just verbally, you don't really hear much from them, and the only time you do see some with them when they get into a fight with someone and they're throwing them out and they seem like these horrible monsters. Now maybe it kind of humanizes them more, and then maybe fans will kind of connect with them, and just in general, just the game itself. And I have to mention it because of this Mets, and again, don't want to see anyone hurt because you wish that and it comes back on you. But of course, the news came across the Mets that, of course, Jacob deGrom will not be available for opening day. Had to shut him down for at least 4 weeks. Had an MRI, did an MRI on his shoulders. Sore strain there, and again, he's going to be shut down for 4 weeks. But they're possibly saying that maybe he may not be able to actually pitch in the game up to 2 months, and it's just really kind of a downer, just because deGrom himself, coming back from a slight tear of UCL last season where he didn't pitch after July 7th and he had to be completely shut down. Now, if you're the Mets, you come into the season, you spend all this money on Scherzer and you spend all this money on Sterling Marte. You figure, yeah, we're going to have deGrom back and have Scherzer and deGrom 1-2, perhaps maybe the best starting rotation in baseball, at least up top, and I would agree with that. But now we kind of they fall into shambles a little bit. And again, for deGrom, just every season cannot stay healthy at all. Again, probably some of the best stuff in baseball when he's on the mound, but now, of course, he's not going to be there for opening day, and it's just kind of downer for Mets. Not to wish any bad ill will towards him, but it's just very Met-like how that happens. So we'll see what happens, and of course, he's looking to get a new contract after the season, and it's going to be tough to put up good numbers if you're going to miss a chunk of the top of the season. So we'll see how it all works out. And a lot of people say this deGrom in general, like he has high velocity on his fastball as well as a slider. Maybe he just needs to dial it back a little bit. We don't know what it is, but it just seems every season deGrom gets hurt, and 2022 will be no different. And with that out of the way, we'll kind of get into the meat and potatoes of this episode, which I wanted to give you a breakdown of the Yankees' AL East rivals this season. Again, maybe had your head buried in football, or just kind of checked out in certain ways and kind of missed some of the moves. So I'll kind of give you this little summary of each of the 4 teams in the Yankees division, what additions they made, what subtractions they made, and kind of where they stand at the beginning portion of the season. So leading off will be the Toronto Blue Jays. And for the past 10 seasons or more, the experts are always predicting that the Toronto Blue Jays, they're like, this is the final season, they're going to win the AL East. Well, we've been hearing that time and time again. Well, 2022 possibly might be finally that year. Now, they did take some big hits. They lost Robbie Ray, who was their Cy Young Award-winning ace. Again, remember, him and Cole were kind of going neck and neck there down the end. And of course, Cole had some bad starts in September because of the hamstring injury. And then Robbie Ray, even though he kind of started fading out himself a little bit, he eventually became the AL Cy Young Award winner. But of course, now he's with the Seattle Mariners, so Toronto lost him, as well as Marcus Semien, second baseman, free agent, good hit second baseman, signs with the Texas Rangers. So you kind of lose, a power hitting second baseman as well as your Cy Young Award winner. Those are some big hits, but nevertheless, Toronto Blue Jays still have a prolific offense, at least on that side of the ball. I mean, you still have Vladdy Guerrero Jr. there. Bo Bichette should be getting a little better. Now, they added our old friend Greg Bird. He will be the backup first baseman. We'll see how long that lasts before he breaks his foot off again. But, I'm sure he's going to be motivated to want to, do well. And, of course, maybe it would help him also just want to stick it to the Yankees a little bit. And if you remember one of the spring training games, he did go deep on the Yankees. And just kind of interested to see how long it lasts. I always, want to wish him well. But, obviously don't want to wish him too well if he's going to be in our division. Now, the Blue Jays did bring in another starting pitcher to kind of absorb that blow. That's Kevin Kosman. Again, he was the free agent pitcher from Baltimore. Again, even the Yankees were kicking the tire on him, so they bring him in. Still, with that being said, the Toronto Blue Jays starting rotation, nothing that really scares you that much. I don't see any. Again, losing Robbie Ray is kind of a big blow there, and again, Kosman's all right, but it does not, balance that out. So that end is there. And then, of course, the bullpen, okay, but nothing that really scares you, locks you down, kind of like the Rays would. So, Toronto's offense might be prolific. And if you look at what they had to go through the past couple of seasons with COVID, and, of course, the Prime Minister Justin Trudeau being very very stringent about travel into Canada. So that kind of forces the Toronto Blue Jays to play both in Buffalo as well as Dunedin last season, kind of going back and forth, in which when they were the home team, they were 22-22. And again, that's kind of when you're not really a home team. So now the difference in 2022, the Toronto Blue Jays will be back at the Rogers Center and have a full season where they can play in their own ballpark and not kind of living out of a suitcase left and right, and you can actually feel confident to be home. So they're probably going to be very tough as a home team. And again, they're probably going to put up a lot of prolific offense. But again, I just don't see their starting rotation or their bullpen, or just in general them as a team, still being a guaranteed winner for AL East. So I think they'll be there really towards the end. They'll compete, again, possibly for one of the wild card spots. But again, I just don't see them winning the AL East. So, how they stack up against the Yankees, I think the Yankees have the better starting rotation. I think the Yankees have the better bullpen. The roster maybe could be equal a little bit. Maybe the Yankees offense could be a little bit better. But again, compare the Toronto against the Yankees, I just think the Yankees are slightly better than them. And I think the Yankees will finish maybe ahead of them wherever the standings may be. I think the Yankees will be at least above the Toronto Blue Jays, which is we kind of saw last season. And the Blue Jays and Yankees were kind of going neck and neck for that wild card spot. And eventually the Yankees kind of outlasted them a little bit. And again, wherever they end up, I think it'll be the same thing this season. Batting second, the hated Boston Red Sox, who the Yankees open up the season with at home. Now, Boston is going to make the third season in a row. They're not going to have their ace, Chris Sale, available. This time it's a rib injury that he's coming back from, and it's just going to take a while to really get him started. And, of course, remember our old friend James Paxton, who was with the Yankees back in 2019. Now, Paxton, to his credit, getting kind of been an injury-plagued season for 2019, but at least stepped up big in that first game against Minnesota at home. At least gave the Yankees a 1-0 lead in that divisional series. But since that time, they parted ways with the Yankees and needed Tommy John surgery, and he's kind of working his way back, so he won't be available to start the season. And they also lost left-hander Eduardo Rodriguez, signs for free agency with the Detroit Tigers. So again, out of the gate, the Boston Red Sox starting rotation is going to be kind of thin. Their bullpen is pretty much the same as it was last year. That kind of, Matt Barnes lost a job and it was kind of bullpen by committee and whoever was hot that time. Boston really do much to address the bullpen situation, so it's going to be probably a lot of situations like what you saw last season. They had a lot of blowed games, and there's a lot of frustrating losses for them. And again, it doesn't seem like much is going to change there. Now, on the other side of the coin, the offense, much improved there. As mentioned last episode, they signed Trevor Story. Again, he was a shortstop, but of course they're bringing him in, going to move him to second base. Again, 6-year deal for $160 million, so he'll be there at second base. Xander Bogaerts, again, he kind of came to his own, really came on the scene big time last season. Be there at shortstop. First base, you have Bobby Dahlbeck, who really came on strong to the end of the season. It was kind of part of the reason that Boston ended up with the AL East. And, of course, at third base, Rafael Devers, who was unbelievable last season. So, at least on the infield, Boston's pretty stacked. And, of course, you have J.D. Martinez. There's a steady Eddie at DH. And the outfield, again, not much power out there. But, of course, you always have that speed of Jacob Bradley on the bases, kind of annoying there. So, overall, I look at Boston. I, again, just want to compare this to the Yankees right now. Look at the starting rotation. Again, until Chris Sale's in there, which we haven't seen him actually healthy and consistently for quite some time, I got to give the nod to the Yankees starting rotation in that regard. Offense, I think the Yankees definitely have the better outfield in offense production. Now, infield, you could probably make the argument that Boston has the better offensive infield. And bullpen, again, I think that's lights out. Yankees, much better bullpen over the Boston Red Sox. Again, they don't even know who their closer is right now. So, again, Boston won the AL East, in 2021, and of course beat the Yankees in that kind of one-game, showdown. But overall, I do think the Yankees, at least going into the season, are a little better, more equipped than the Boston Red Sox. Now, if Sale comes back and is healthy, that could change a lot of it. But we just haven't seen Sale healthy in quite some time. And again, with that herky-jerky motion of his, he does seem to get hurt often. And now, the age and the innings are starting to, catching up with him. So we'll see what we're going to have to do there. They literally just don't have an ace at the moment. So, again, I just give the Yankees right there the clear-cut nod. Again, right, if they're doing a head-to-head matchup at this point. Of course, the most peskiest of the teams in the AL East is batting third, and that's the Tampa Bay Rays, who always give the Yankees fits. Now, no team in baseball can complain about injuries more than them. They've really been hit hard. Again, last season, Tyler Glasnow, the ace, the guy that kind of shut the Yankees down in the 2020 divisional series. Again, had Tommy John surgery. Now, they're thinking that he should be back some point this season, but it's not going to be till very late. and he's kind of crossed his fingers that maybe he's not back at all because, again, the Yankees can't touch him. And we've heard this with the Yankees as well. It was like, well, so-and-so will be back, and the person never is. So kind of hopefully that's the case with Tyler because, again, he just gives the Yankees all sorts of fits. So he's not going to be there, of course, at the beginning part of the season. And he also took another big blow with Shane Baz. You may recall he early before the season started had surgery on his to remove some chips from his elbow, so he's not going to be there to start the season. And not only did the starting rotation take a hit, but also their bullpen, two big names. One of them, Nick Anderson, who again needed surgery in October. He's not going to be there to start the season, and of course Pete Fairbanks, who, again, one of these relievers that the Yankees seem to can't touch. He's not going to be there to start the season. Had a muscle that issue and is not going to be thrown for at least several few weeks. So those two relievers won't be available. So if you look at the start of the season, Tampa, who, again, they're all about pitching. Their rotation took a hit as well as the bullpen. Now, for them, the benefit for them in the bullpen, they just have so many guys there stacked that I don't think they'll really miss a beat there, but at least they're going to be a little thin up front, at least in the starting rotation. Now, they did bring in Corey Kluber, who was with the Yankees last season, but of course with Kluber, 36 years old, I guess I know, the former Cy Young Award, two-time Cy Young Award winner, and again, I was happy the Yankees had him last season, but he is 36 now, wasn't really able to pitch a full season last year with the Yankees. It was great with the Yankees. He kind of gave them that, no-hitter. It was an exciting moment. But then after that, he was pretty much shut down for pretty much the rest of the season. Came back in September, had a game against the Mets. Had the Yankees game like a 5-0 lead, and then he choked the lead away and kind of was really pretty much useless down the stretch. So, yeah, they bring in Corey Kluber, but I'm not expecting anything great out of him. And, again, he wasn't even able to give the Yankees a full season last season. Of course, with the Yankees' luck, watch him be amazing again. But I'm just going to tend with he's not going to be the amazing Kluber, and and he's not going to make up for the loss of Baez as well as Glass now. So, at least at this point, I still like the Yankees starting rotation right now above theirs. Now, if Glass now and these other pieces and Baez comes back, then that changes the conversation. Now, you want to go into the bullpen. They always have, even though Anderson and Fairbanks are down, they have so many arms in there, it just doesn't matter. So I think pretty much they probably have maybe a little bit better bullpen than the Yankees. Now you want to look at the offense and that side of the ball. Well, again, Tampa takes a big hit. They lose the ageless wonder, Nelson Cruz. Again, he signed with the Washington Nationals, becoming the first, National League DH, so to speak. And, Tampa traded him from last season, so they lose him to free agency. So their offense probably won't be as good as it was last season. Still kind of pesky. And again, you still have Brandon Lau there at second base. Again, had a great season last season, and no reason why he wouldn't this season. So offense right now, I would give the nod to the Yankees. But with Tampa, it's just going to be these injuries and these pitchers coming back. Once they do come back and they're full stride, overall, probably better than the Yankees overall. But again, until these pieces come back and can perform, I still right now would slightly like to give the nod to the Yankees, but ever so slightly. And last but not least, definitely least, is the punching bag of the AL East, and that's the Baltimore Orioles. Finished last season at 52-110, literally lost over 100 games. Terrible, and I feel really sorry for those fans. I mean, there's like nothing there to be excited about. Only really thing was Trey Mancini, as he won the 2021 Comeback Player of the Year. Of course, the season before that, battled colon cancer and was able to get back on the field and have a decent season. So I guess that's something to be happy about and look forward to. But other than that, for the Baltimore Orioles, no expectation at all. Again, you're probably going to see the same situation. You're going to lose anywhere from, again, 90 to probably over 100 games again, because really you haven't done much to improve the team. They lose Kevin Kostman again, as mentioned before, signs with the Toronto Blue Jays, so you lose one of your best starters. Not that it was great to begin with. So again, this is going to be a situation where this is going to be terrible. Probably Camden Yards will be empty most of the time. Now, the Yankees, do need to take advantage of that, which they didn't do last season. Now, in previous seasons, they used to rake against the Baltimore Orioles, especially down in Camden, and especially with Gleyber Torres. The Yankees kind of need to get back into that. And really, overall, the Yankees against the AL East opponents did not fare that well, and that's probably the reason why they ended up as a wild card. So hopefully the season the Yankees could turn that around and then use the Baltimore, use those games to get some automatic wins. Because to lose against that team, it's really pathetic. That should not happen at all, especially with the Yankee offense. And of course, if anything, again, those should be gifted wins, really for anybody, but especially the Yankees should just go in there and really just make up. Because last season they did not take advantage of that, and again, that's kind of what cost the Yankees the AL East. So Baltimore, really nothing to say there. Again, they're going to just lose a ton of games. It's going to be automatic wins. Fans not going to be into it. No one's going to care about that team. And, I don't know. The owner should just sell that franchise. I don't know what they're doing with it. So there's your AL East scouting report for the contenders. I don't know if we should consider Baltimore a contender, but it kind of is. Now, where do I think the Yankees are going to finish in all this? Just again, the way these teams are constructed right now, I actually kind of like the New York Yankees maybe to win the AL East. Now, you might say, well, you cost me being a homer and all that stuff. Well, I just think the Yankees at least started the season are just set up better just in terms of the roster and health-wise. Now, again, last season, the Boston Red Sox kind of took everyone by surprise. No one saw it coming. I figured that at best it'd be a third-place team. But again, players like Bobby Dalbec came out of nowhere and kind of carried that team to the AL East. I just don't see that happening again this year. Just again, look at the starting rotation. They had some losses, as well as we just have questions mark at least for Chris Sale, and we haven't seen him pitch a full healthy season in quite some time. He stacked that up against the Yankees starting rotation, and at this point, we have to see a lot from Severino and Taillon, but there's a lot more upside there, and if they can put that together, 1, 2, 3. That's pretty good, and I'll take that over Boston's rotation. The only starting rotation that could maybe give the Yankees fits would be, as mentioned before, the Tampa Bay Rays. If they get some of these pieces back, they'll get Baez back. But again, Glass now, who again, even if he comes back in September, we don't know how he's gonna be. So at least at this point, look at all the teams that the Yankees are facing. I just like their roster at this point, just health wise, and if you look at the roster itself, they should be much better than they were last season. Again, it was kind of tough to watch. Even Cashman said this team's tough to watch. Even with Judge and even with Stanton in there, it was scoring like 1 or 2 runs per game. It was really almost boring to watch them. Shouldn't be the case this season. The lineups are much better now, mainly because of DJ LeMahieu. You're going to get a full, healthy DJ LeMahieu back. And again, in spring training, you saw him driving the ball to right field a bit, showing us hitting the ball with power and authority, which he did not have last season. You're going to get a full season of Hicks, which, knock on wood, so far has been healthy. And that's a power switch-hitting bat. Playing center field, you have in the middle of that lineup. And, of course, the 2 Italianos. We have Gallo in left field, Gold Glove defender. Now, we all know about him. He's going to hit 200, a little bit above that, but he's also going to get a lot of walks, hit a lot of home runs, get some RBIs in. And, of course, Rizzo, also a left-handed bat, playing first base, and I think he'll be fine. You ask him to be a 270, 280 hitter, I think he could do that. And, of course, he's going to get his home as well and play some good first base. And the Yankee bullpen, again, I like the Yankee bullpen. Even if Chapman gives you the yips a little bit, you at least have an insurance policy with Loaizaga. So at least at the start of the season, I just like the Yankee lineup. Just better than everyone else's in terms of where the health is. I like the starting rotation. I like Cole right now. Again, just at the moment, Cole is probably the best ace of the league, of the division. So I just give the Yankees the heads up on that. And I just think finally this is the time. Just the way the feel and Josh Donaldson coming in and give his team a little attitude. I think they're ready to have a really good season, and I expect this team again. I think at the end of the day, they will be the AL East champions. So hopefully I'm right about the Yankees, and again, we're in late September, early October. They're sitting they're pretty in the AL East. They could get the crown there, and they don't have to be on the road stressing out, or don't have to one of these wacky one-game do-or-die games where they get eliminated and kind of the whole season goes down the tubes just for one game. And again, I think the Yankees will have a good season in there, and again, I think they will be the AL East champions. It's really about time for them. And again, imagine you want to be on the lookout for that podcast. Again, the Section 420 Talkin Yankees podcast. Again, not only going to catch these episodes, but also exclusive content that will only be available that podcast throughout the week. So you don't have to wait a whole week to hear me talking Yankees. You get me multiple times a week. So thank you for 6th season. Hopefully 7 is the charm.